Discover the incredible journey, how a homeless girl healed a billionaire's daughter in 30 days. Emily woke up to the sounds of cars honking and the aroma of coffee wafting through the air. Her heart raced with a familiar beat of determination. 17 years old and homeless, she lay in her bunk at the crowded Chicago shelter, ready to tackle another day. The city buzzed outside, a vibrant organism that pulsed with life, and Emily had learned to thrive amidst it. She had found her strength in helping others, sharing her warmth and kindness with fellow residents. Meanwhile, Claire lived in an ivory tower of wealth just a few miles away. 18, with a life that overflowed with luxury, all she felt was emptiness. While her peers swirled in parties and privilege, Claire wrestled silently with anxiety, her heart heavy with the constant fear of disappointing her parents. Every lavish gift felt hollow, every achievement a mere echo of her own struggles. Their paths crossed in an unexpected twist of fate, a community outreach program aimed at bridging the chasm of understanding between their worlds. Initially, it was awkward. They stood on the outskirts of vulnerability, cautious in their exchanges. As they prepared to stock food banks and meet families in need, Emily observed Claire, struggling to lift heavy boxes. The sweat beaded on Claire's brow, and for a moment, Emily felt a pang of frustration. How could someone so privileged cringe at hard work? It felt personal. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Emily struggled to keep her own emotions in check, things began spiraling. An unexpected misunderstanding flared up, creating a rift between them. Emily felt betrayed. How could Claire not understand the urgency of their mission? Claire, on the other hand, was plastered with guilt, unsure how to peel away the layers of her life that had protected her from the harsh realities around them. When chaos erupted at the shelter late one night, Emily's instincts kicked in. She had a decision to make: to pour her frustrations out on Claire or to unite with her in this pivotal moment. Claire stood beside her, shaking off the weight of her controlling family's expectations. Together, they became a force of resilience as community members rallied behind them. But would their bond hold strong through the storm? The clamor outside thickened with each headline bearing their names, the pressure amplified. Standing together in the face of uncertainty, they embodied hope, yet both felt the pull of their respective worlds threatening to draw them apart. As the night wore on, the stars outside flickered like whispered promises. Emily glanced at Claire, and in that fleeting moment, she realized she was not just a homeless girl, she was a catalyst for change. But what would come next? As they braved the unknown, the fabric of their worlds began to intertwine. The question lingered, heavy in the air: could their friendship, laced with resilience and vulnerability, withstand the onslaught of judgment and expectation? Emily took a deep breath as dawn broke, casting a soft glow through the shelter's grimy windows. The world outside beckoned her, filled with possibilities. She wanted to hold on to that feeling, that sense of purpose that had ignited within her during the chaos of the night. But doubts lurked in the shadows. Was she truly making a difference? Would Claire see past the facade of her privilege? Shaking off those thoughts, she dressed in her worn clothes, the fabric familiar against her skin a reminder of her journey. She navigated through the crowded room, greeting other residents with warm smiles. Each interaction grounded her, a reminder that together they were all striving for something better. Meanwhile, Claire stared at her reflection, feeling like a stranger in her own life. The soft hues of her lavish room felt suffocating, the weight of expectations pressing down on her chest. She tossed her expensive clothes aside and opted for something simple: a plain shirt and jeans. Today, she would step into Emily's world, embrace the grit, and silence the chatter in her mind telling her she didn't belong. When they met at the outreach center, the tension simmered just beneath the surface. Emily glanced at Claire, studying her uncertain expression. "You ready for today?" she asked, trying to mask the complex emotions that bubbled within her. Claire nodded, drawing in a shaky breath. Yeah, I think so. They were assigned to a group of volunteers, and as they sorted through donated goods, the girls silently began to rebuild their connection. With each box of clothes they packed, each meal they prepared, barriers began to crumble. Claire still felt clumsy, like a dancer stepping on toes, but Emily's quiet encouragement softened her anxiety. During lunch, as they shared sandwiches, Claire gathered the courage to speak. I don't know how you do this every day. I feel lost. It's like I'm living a life I didn't even choose. I don't want that. Emily tilted her head, listening intently. Choosing it starts with recognizing what you want, Claire. You've got more power than you think, even if it's not obvious. Maybe that's just what we both need to learn. Claire's eyes glistened with unshed tears, the vulnerability stripping away her defenses. But I don't even know how to begin. Start small. Make one change today. That's how it grows, Emily said, a smile breaking across her face. For the first time, she saw a flicker of hope in Claire's eyes. Just then, a commotion erupted outside, pulling at their attention. A group of reporters had arrived, cameras flashing as they sought the story behind the shelter's new, dynamic duo. Emily felt her heart thump painfully in her chest. Claire, on the other hand, seemed intrigued. As the reporters approached, Emily hesitated. She didn't want to be a spectacle, she had fought too hard to be seen as a person, not a headline. But Claire's hand found hers, squeezing tight. It was small comfort, but it made Emily feel less alone. As questions flew around them, Claire stepped into the spotlight. The camera angles shifted, focusing on her as she shared her perspective. Emily remained in the background, a silent partner carrying the weight of their reality. When the frenzy waned and they retreated to a quieter corner, Emily's emotions roiled inside. Did Claire realize the spotlight also cast shadows? Did she see the dangers of being perceived as a savior instead of a friend? What just happened back there? Emily's voice broke, a blend of frustration and fear. I just wanted to help. You're doing something amazing. People need to know. Claire's confidence faltered. Maybe they need to know the truth more than a pretty story, Emily replied, her heart racing. They stood there, facing each other under the weight of what lay ahead. Would this one moment of clarity draw them closer or reveal deeper divides? Claire searched Emily's face, as if she were looking for answers. I'm scared, Emily, she admitted softly. So am I. And in that shared fear, both girls felt the tremors of their worlds shifting once again. Leaving them with one penetrating question, as the world began to watch, could they keep their precious bond from shattering under the pressure? Emily's heart pounded as Claire's words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of reality. They both stood in that quiet corner, surrounded by the fading echoes of cameras and reporters, but amid the chaos, a fragile understanding started to solidify between them. I don't want to hurt you, Claire whispered, her voice barely above a hush. The softness of her words took prompt shape into something real, something deeper than just friendship. Emily held her gaze, wondering if it was possible for them both to embrace the truth of who they were without losing each other. They left the shelter, the buzz of the day still lingering in their minds. Outside, the sun blazed down, illuminating the cracked sidewalk and the people navigating its challenges as they went about their lives. A group of children were playing nearby, laughing and chasing each other in a game that felt distant from the troubles they'd just witnessed. For a brief moment, Emily felt envious of their ease. Did they even know the heavy truths lurking in the world? Where to next? Claire asked, her eyes scanning the bustling streets. I want to see more. Emily hesitated. Are you sure? There's a lot out there. That she trailed off, not wanting to overwhelm her friend with the stark realities she encountered daily. But Claire's determination sparkled with a bright intensity that Emily couldn't ignore. Yeah, I really want to understand, Claire insisted, stepping forward with resolve. I need to know and I want to help. Emily took a deep breath, recognizing the fire in Claire's eyes. Okay. Let us go meet some people. They struck out further into the heart of the city, weaving through crowds and alleyways until they reached a small park where a few people gathered. Some eyed them with curiosity, others with skepticism. Emily knew these faces well, their stories layered with hardship and determination. Just be open, Emily advised quietly as they approached a group seated on benches. Listen. That's the first step. Hi. I'm Claire, she announced, extending her hand with enthusiasm. Emily winced slightly, praying that Claire understood the vulnerability involved in such an introduction. The group exchanged glances, unsure of how to respond to the well-dressed girl who seemed completely out of place. After a moment, an older man with weathered features shook her hand. I'm George. What brings you here? We're helping out at the shelter, Claire beamed. I want to know more about what you go through. How can I really help? A quiet tension lingered before George nodded slowly. It's good to hear, but helping isn't just about giving donations or volunteering. It's about seeing us as we are. You really want to help? Then understand our stories. Claire's smile faltered slightly, but didn't disappear. I'm ready to listen. As they shared stories, some spoke of their battles with addiction, others of loss and dreams deferred. Emily watched Claire's face transform. Each word seemed to latch onto her heart, shifting from curiosity to a deeper sense of compassion and urgency. Claire was coming to life in a way Emily hadn't expected, and for the first time, the divide between their worlds felt narrower. After they parted ways, Emily felt an overwhelming sense of pride swell within her. You did great, Claire. They really opened up to you. But Claire looked pale, her brow knitted in thought. It was heartbreaking, she confessed. How can I go back to my old life now? I have everything, and yet what do you want to do? Emily asked, carefully gauging her friend's reaction. I don't know yet, Claire admitted, her voice wavering. But I can't just walk away from this. Emily nodded, feeling a swell of hope mixed with trepidation. They were diving into uncharted waters, and with every step forward, they risked the chance of losing the path they'd both started together. In that moment, something crucial clicked between them, a realization that their journeys were now inexorably intertwined, and at that moment, Claire whispered, what if we start something here? Something bigger. A chill swept through Emily as she realized the weight of those words. What would it mean to pursue something bigger than both of them? She felt the urgency of their connection growing, along with the enormity of what lay ahead. Could they really change the world, or would the pressure prove too much for their bond to bear? Claire's words hung in the air like the final note of a haunting melody. Something bigger, Emily whispered, testing the phrase on her tongue as if it were a new flavor. Claire met her gaze, determination radiating from her. We can't just walk away, she insisted, her voice stronger now. What if we created a community project? We could raise awareness, help the people we met today. Emily's heart raced. A community project? It felt monumental. That's a big commitment, Claire. We need support, resources, everything. Then let us find it. Claire's enthusiasm sparked something dormant in Emily, an ember of hope that began to glow. We can start small. Just a few events, maybe a charity drive to get us going. As they walked the bustling city streets, the possibilities unfurled in Emily's mind. She could already see the flyer designs and read about announcements in local papers, but then that familiar wave of doubt crashed in. What if it doesn't work? What if we're not enough? Emily, Claire paused, stepping in front of her to capture her focus. We're enough because we care. And that's a powerful start. They came to a halt at the edge of a busy intersection, the sounds of cars honking and people crunching past blurring together. Claire shut her eyes briefly, breathing deeply, as if pulling strength from the city around them. What if we don't have enough money? What if we fail? Emily pressed, her fears creeping out from the shadows. Claire opened her eyes, that bright spark still shining through. What if we do? What if we connect with people who want to help? She turned, her gaze sweeping over the park where they had just encountered the group. These are real lives we could change, Emily. We can't ignore that. A warmth spread through Emily, it was a connection to Claire's passionate belief. Yet anxiety pushed hard against her heart. Okay. Let us figure out how to start, she replied, trying to swallow her apprehensions. Let us meet some of the people again, Claire suggested. We'll ask for their insights. They might have ideas on what's needed. We can engage them directly. With a nod, Emily surrendered to Claire's idea. She felt the urge to retreat vanish, replaced by a fierce desire to leap into the unknown alongside Claire. They walked back towards the park, and as they approached the benches, familiar faces turned towards them. Curiosity flickered in the air. George stood, his hands clasped before him, while a few others lingered close, their expressions cautious but intrigued. Hey, we're back. Claire greeted brightly, her excitement spilling into the atmosphere. Did you have more questions? George inquired, a glimmer of hope threading through his voice. Emily chimed in, conviction firming her tone. We want to do more than just listen. We want to help. What do you need that we could support you with? The group exchanged looks, some hesitant, others eager. It was George who finally spoke first. You want to help? Then let us share what we really need. As stories unfurled, some about finding jobs, others focused on healthcare or mental health support, Emily felt something profound shift inside her. Claire sat, hanging on every syllable, and that energy was infectious, but then a deeper fear flickered behind Claire's determined eyes. This was just the beginning, and as connections deepened, both women would have to wrestle with the evolving implications of what they were trying to create. Are you ready to take this leap with me? Claire asked softly, her expression a mix of vulnerability and strength. Emily took a deep breath, feeling the weight of uncertainty and possibility in equal measure. If we're going to do this, we have to stay true to what we started. The stir within Emily grew, each beat resonating louder as a flicker of excitement ignited. Let us change our lives along with theirs. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting shadows that danced around them, signs of impending change, challenges to embrace, and hope that whispered from the edges. What would it take to truly take flight? Emily didn't know, but she felt the pull, like a magnet, drawing her forward. The next step loomed closer, and they were ready. Could their dreams bring life to this vision, or would the stakes stretch too far? The park echoed with a mix of cautious optimism. George's eyes brightened as he felt the sincerity in Emily's voice. Here's the thing, he started, the subtle tremor in his voice hinting at the weight of the words he was about to share. We might need a space for support groups or job training. We need a place where we can feel safe and not judged. Claire nodded, her brows furrowing in concentration, already brainstorming solutions. That's doable. We can partner with local organizations. They might be open to helping. One of the women stepped forward, her face lined with stories untold. And mental health services, it's tough out there. Sometimes, all you need is someone to talk to. Emily listened, her heart squeezing. She could feel the heaviness of their struggles etched in each word. What if we organized workshops? We could bring in speakers, people who come out on the other side. George's eyes widened. That could help so many. His enthusiasm was contagious, sending ripples through the group. Conversation sparked, ideas ignited like firecrackers in the evening sky. Yet Emily's mind raced. We need to find funding. What if we ask local businesses? They might want to pitch in. Exactly. Claire jumped in. Let us schedule meetings. Start building those connections. The momentum surged around them, brightening the air with ambitious ideas and shared hopes. But beneath the surface of that initial excitement sat a tremor of fear. What if their vision crumbled? What if the world outside didn't care enough to help? Claire reached out, giving Emily's hand a reassuring squeeze. We won't know unless we try, she said, her voice steady. The sun dipped lower, casting a soft golden hue around them, the day drawing to a close yet somehow brimming with new life. Emily found herself leaning into Claire's confidence. "Okay, let us get a plan in place." Suddenly, another voice joined the fray, a young man who had sat quietly, observing. "You know, if you're serious about this, I could help with marketing. I'm pretty good with social media." Emily's heart did a little flip. "That's perfect," she exclaimed, imagining colorful posts flying across feeds, catching the eyes of potential supporters. Claire beamed. "And if we create a community page, we can get the word out. We could generate interest and build a following. Even a small donation can make a difference." As ideas continued to flow, the group became a network of interconnected thoughts and dreams, each new suggestion fueling the fire. They could create informative pamphlets, host events, and begin grassroots campaigns. Yet doubt still flickered in the back of Emily's mind. The risk loomed large, just like the shadows growing longer around them. "Claire, what if we can't sustain this? What if we hit a wall?" Claire met her gaze with warmth and calm. "We will, Emily. We'll navigate those walls together. People here need hope. If we can give them that." The platitudes felt almost hollow in the face of reality. But as Emily looked around the glowing faces that shared their hopes with raw honesty, a spark within her ignited. This wasn't just about them anymore. This was about community. As they compiled ideas and whispered plans, the feeling in the air shifted from uncertainty to possibility. The shadows danced around them, matching the pulse of their collective energy. But something was brewing in the back of Emily's mind, an issue lurking just out of sight. A feeling that perhaps they were taking on more than they could handle. "I just have this feeling," Emily started, but there was a shift in the chatter, a subtle refocus on her. An elderly gentleman, who had just joined the group, turned to her and interrupted gently, "Sometimes it's the leap into fear that brings the most astonishing victories." His words settled in the air, clinging to the evening's hope. Emily felt an unexpected surge of courage. Maybe this was the start of something incredible. But as excitement swirled, a question lingered in the air: how much of herself was she willing to give for this cause? It was a choice she would soon have to confront. And as they began to make plans, the weight of her decision pressed in. Would she risk it all for a chance at real change? As the sun finally dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the park, Emily felt a tension twist her stomach. The spark of hope ignited by their collective enthusiasm was vivid, but it flickered like a candle threatened by a breeze. "Okay, so what's our first step?" she asked, forcing a smile though her heart raced. She could feel the energy in the air, a tangible force that was both exhilarating and terrifying. Claire glanced around the group, her eyes alight with determination. "How about we draft a proposal for local philanthropy? They always look for projects that support the community. We could use their funds to rent a space." A chorus of agreement met Claire's suggestion. George jumped in eagerly, "We can showcase the need right here with real stories. The impact we can make together." Excitement brewed once more, contagious and bright. They huddled closer, papers and pens flying as ideas flowed faster than Emily could jot them down. The darkness around them faded, replaced by the glow of potential, but as more voices chimed in, Emily's thoughts began to cloud with uncertainty. What if they sounded just like all the others? What if the pitch fell flat? Her mind raced, and she couldn't shake the nagging doubt. It made her feel small and out of place, that same self-doubt she'd battled for years. The image of her father, shaking his head in disappointment, flashed in her mind. "You can't change the world, Em. You can't even sort out your own life. When you least expect it, help will find you," the elderly man's words echoed in her mind. But what if this was just a pipe dream? A wishful thinking built on shaky foundations? "Are you all right?" Claire's gentle voice pulled Emily from her spiraling thoughts. She looked up into her friend's concerned eyes and tried to smile, but it faltered. "I don't know if I can keep this up," she whispered, vulnerability creeping into her tone. What if I can't deliver? What if it all falls apart? Claire leaned in, wrapping her arm around Emily's shoulders. The warmth radiated comfort, yet Emily felt the pressure of expectations, her own, the group's, and even the community's. Hey, Claire said softly, what if you don't have to do it alone? At that moment, a sobering realization settled over Emily. What if it wasn't just about her? What if, in their efforts to change lives, the process offered healing to her too? George cleared his throat and broke the silence. We're all playing a part in this. None of us has to be the hero. Just be the voice of this community. The sincerity in his words ignited something in Emily, a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, they could do this together. I'm in, Emily said, a newfound determination coating her voice. Let us light this fire. Cheers erupted around them, their collective energy surging, renewed with purpose. The shadows that danced around them felt less threatening now, transformed into the empowering backdrop of their mission. As they continued to brainstorm in the growing darkness, the glow of their phones illuminated faces filled with commitment and trust. But even in that camaraderie, Emily felt a weight looming, a hard decision that still hovered, unanswered. I'll draft the proposal, she said, feeling the words pour out as her confidence swelled, leaving no room for hesitation. But in her heart, she wondered, how would she balance her own fears with the hope she'd just helped ignite? Just then, the sound of shuffling footsteps drew their attention. A familiar figure emerged from the trees. Daniel, the young man who had quietly observed before. I heard what you all are trying to do, he said, his voice steady. I want in. But I want to share my story too. It might help. Emily's breath caught, she could sense the weight of those words. The depth of his experiences could take their mission to a whole new level. Let us hear it, Claire encouraged, her eyes sparkling. As Daniel spoke, revealing the struggles he faced and the dreams he held, Emily felt the atmosphere shift. Even amongst the initiative, they were all raw and real. But lurking beneath their hopes was a truth Emily couldn't shake. How many other stories were waiting to be unveiled? And what would it take for them all to stitch their experiences together into something magnificent? With the night thickening around them, she realized this journey might unravel more than they bargained for. Would they be ready for the truths that emerged, and the personal changes ahead? As Daniel's voice filled the air, the gravity of his words settled heavily among them. Emily could see it in the way his eyes glistened with memories, each recollection a mix of pain and resilience. When he finished, the silence hung like a thick veil, absorbing everything they had just heard. Wow, George finally murmured, shaking his head. That was powerful. We need to make sure your story is part of this proposal. Emily nodded, her heart racing. She had always been aware of the many layers people carried, but Daniel's story brought a rawness that called for attention. It wasn't just about the shiny initiatives, it was about the very real lives beneath them, the struggles that demanded to be seen. As the group began to discuss how to weave Daniel's narrative into their project, Emily caught herself thinking about her own story. Would she have the strength to share it? Would it even matter? Doubts slipped through her thoughts like sand through her fingers. But then she recalled how Daniel had stepped forward, bravely unveiling himself to them. Emily, Claire nudged her gently, pulling her from her reverie. What do you think? Can we incorporate aspects of your experience too? It might resonate with others. Emily opened her mouth to object, her usual fears bubbling to the surface, but the warmth from Claire's prompting pushed her. Yeah, I guess, my experience could show how important it is to feel connected, to seek help when you need it. Exactly. George smiled, excitement building again. Let us showcase the breadth of our community. Everyone has a voice, and we're all part of this. With renewed energy, they plunged back into ideas, but Emily felt the weight of the choices ahead. The prospect of sharing her journey felt overwhelming, too vulnerable. But then, as she glanced at Daniel, who seemed to breathe a little easier now, she caught a flicker of inspiration. What if we hosted a community gathering? She proposed. Something where everyone can come share their stories. It could be a way to build connections while showing local philanthropy how engaged we are. Her pulse quickened at the thought. Claire raised her eyebrows, intrigued. Yeah. A storytelling night. It could be what sets us apart. George grinned. And we can invite local musicians, artists. Make it a real event. The ideas began bouncing around again, growing into something concrete. This could be their way of ensuring that every voice mattered, particularly the silenced ones. The thought filled Emily with a warmth she hadn't anticipated. But just as excitement swirled among them and the plan solidified, Emily felt that familiar nagging doubt creep back in. What if no one showed? What if the stories they gathered weren't enough? She didn't want the moment to be about failure. She wanted it to be a beacon and opportunity for real transformation. As Claire and George continued fervently discussing the logistics, Emily found her gaze drifting towards the sky. The stars blinked in and out of sight, each one a reminder of how far she had to go. How easy it was to feel lost amongst the vastness. What's holding you back? Daniel's voice broke through her thoughts again, unexpectedly calm. You don't have to be perfect. Just show up. His words sent a shiver down her spine. What if he was right? What if showing up was the very act that could take her from fearful to unafraid? With a newfound resolve, Emily turned back to the group, a sense of clarity settling in her chest. They all had their uncertainties. So why not embrace them together? Let us do this, she announced, her voice ringing with fervor. Let us make this gathering happen. We can't predict the outcome, but we can open the door and invite everyone in. As cheers erupted around her, she paused, the echoes of her heart racing with both fear and excitement. But amidst the chaos of ideas brewing, one question loomed large: would their leap of faith encourage others to share their stories, revealing a community that truly understood them? As they began plotting the next steps, Emily felt the thrill of possibility. She could see shadows retreating, replaced by a flicker of hope. But what lay beyond that door felt both thrilling and daunting. Would they be ready for the truths waiting to emerge? As the days passed leading up to the gathering, Emily felt an unusual energy in the air. Each morning brought with it a renewed sense of purpose. She and her group fell into an exhausting but exciting rhythm of planning. They secured a community center, set a date, and even started reaching out to locals, those with stories to tell and hearts to share. But among this whirlwind of activity, Emily couldn't shake the jitters. Her stomach twisted in knots each time she thought about standing before a crowd. The weight of her own story felt heavy on her shoulders, like an anchor. What made her special enough to share? Other voices echoed in her mind, the doubts of her childhood, the echoes of moments when she deemed herself unworthy. Hey! Claire's voice broke through her thoughts one afternoon as they pasted flyers around town. You okay? Emily took a deep breath, forcing a smile even though the worry lingered in her eyes. Yeah, just thinking about your story. Emily bit her lip. I don't know if I can do it. What if it's too much? What if it means nothing to anyone? Claire paused. She placed a hand on Emily's arm, a grounding gesture. It means everything, Em. Your journey is part of this. It'll show people they're not alone. That's huge. Maybe Claire was right. Sharing could allow others to step into their own light. But her heart pounded harder all the same. Could she be brave enough to bear her truth? The day of the gathering finally arrived. Underneath the glow of fairy lights strung around the community center, the air buzzed with anticipation. Local musicians warmed up in a corner, their notes mingling with laughter and soft conversations. The walls were adorned with art from community members, pictures of hope, perseverance, and unity. Emily watched as the seats filled up. Faces she recognized, new faces, all eager to be part of this. Her pulse quickened with each person that entered. But there was also a sense of warmth. Each smiling face held a story. It was how they connected that mattered. As the clock chimed the hour, George took the stage, rallying everyone's excitement. He shared snippets about the initiative, weaving in Daniel's impactful story, the one that had inspired them all. Emily soaked in the energy that filled the room, the hope and camaraderie amongst strangers. Then, they began inviting folks to the front. People shared their stories, some light and humorous, others raw and piercing, each one fostering a unique bond among those present. Emily felt her heart swell as one woman spoke of her battle with depression and how community support helped bring her back to life. Tears blurred Emily's vision as she watched the room connect through honesty. Maybe there was something profound in the act of sharing after all. Still, she hovered on the sidelines, the urge to take her place on that stage like a roaring wave, yet so far from the shore. Finally, it was Daniel's turn to speak again. He shared a raw moment of vulnerability, opening up further than he had before about the moments he almost gave up. The words hung in the air, a collective breath held. "You see," he said, looking directly at Emily, "this is all about showing up. You've already been brave by being here." She felt the weight of his gaze lock in on her, urging her to step into that spotlight. Each reassuring smile from Claire fueled Emily's hesitation, turning it into motivation. But would she have the courage to tell her truth here and now? With racing thoughts, Emily stood up, heart thundering in her chest. The moment felt electric and terrifying. She made her way through the crowd, feeling the eyes on her, some curious, some encouraging. As she reached the front, she took a deep breath. "I'd like to share my story." Behind her, the room hushed, anticipation hanging like a thick fog. Would her words resonate? Would she finally embrace the courage she so desperately sought? But what she didn't expect was how the truth she was about to reveal would change not only her life but the lives of those listening. The silence enveloped Emily as she stood there, heart pounding. She felt the warmth of the spotlight on her skin, a mix of heat and pressure. It was as if the whole room was holding its breath, waiting for her to find the courage to let her truth spill out. For a fleeting moment, doubt gnawed at her, whispering that she was unworthy of this moment, but with a deep inhale, she pushed those thoughts aside. "Growing up, it wasn't easy," she started, her voice trembling yet steady. "There were times I felt invisible, like I was just a shadow in my own life." She glanced at Claire, finding the steady reassurance in her friend's gaze. "But there were also moments when love pulled me through, moments I didn't even know I needed." She shared how her parents worked multiple jobs, and how often dinner meant cheap takeout, the smell of grease clinging to their tiny apartment. Her words began to flow as she recounted the ache of loneliness in crowded rooms, the sting of feeling different. But then she shifted gears to recount the ray of hope, a teacher who saw potential in her, who inspired her to chase dreams she didn't think were possible. "I remember a specific moment," she continued, "the day she told me I was more than just a product of my environment. That I could be a voice for change. Those words lit a fire in me." The crowd leaned in, hanging on to her rhythm. She spoke of challenges faced, moments when the weight of the world felt too much, times she wanted to give up. She could see tears glimmer in the eyes of strangers, empathizing with her struggle. "I learned something important. We all have scars." Emily paused, letting her statement sink in. "But those scars are not just reminders of pain, they are proof of survival. Each person here has battled something." She noticed a few heads nodding in understanding. A warmth surged within her, nudging her to dig deeper. It's easy to feel alone. To think that nobody gets it. But sharing your story is powerful. It creates bonds, it brings us closer. As she shared her heart, Emily sensed a shifting energy in the room, a connection weaving through the crowd. She recalled the countless others she had met in community shelters, each person carrying their own burdens, yet all finding solace in shared humanity. By embracing our stories, we can see ourselves in others. Like the time a homeless girl helped a billionaire's daughter find common ground. A story of transcending divides. Her voice cracked slightly, but she pressed on. It was incredible to witness how openness can break down even the biggest walls. The applause began before she reached the end. It surged like waves crashing against the shore, an unexpected validation. Tears streamed down her cheeks, but this time, they were warm with relief. She finally felt seen, but just as she began to breathe again, a voice interrupted. "What about the girl? What happened to her?" A young man in the crowd called out. His question hung in the air, and fear bubbled within Emily once more. She was unprepared for that question. The girl's journey was woven into her own transformation, an untold chapter within the story. What if she didn't have a complete answer? Well, she stumbled, words faltering as she searched for the right response. The crowd remained expectant, eager to hear more. Caught between vulnerability and the urge to teach, Emily felt the weight of her heart in her throat. Would she dare to peel back yet another layer? What if this was the moment that defined their gathering? Taking a deep breath, she stepped back towards the edge of the stage, keeping eye contact with the young man. "Let me tell you about that girl." She knew what she would say could either solidify the connection she found or reveal even more of her fears. The stakes felt higher than ever. Would she take the leap? Could she dive into the depths of that past and share not only a lesson learned, but the truth of resilience? All she could do was embrace the moment. Emily stood there, heart racing, the words brimming on the edge of her lips. The question hung in the air like a dare. What had happened to the girl she had been? The girl who had once felt invisible but now stood ready to embrace her truth. Taking a deep breath, she dove in. That girl, she thought her story didn't matter. She was afraid of her past, afraid that people would judge her for her hardships. But through this journey, she learned something magnificent: every story we carry is a piece of a bigger picture. It contributes to who we are, and it can actually make a difference. As the room settled into a respectful silence, Emily continued. "I met amazing people along the way. Like my friend Claire," she gestured towards Claire, who beamed back at her, a girl from a totally different world. She came in with her own fears, her own doubts, yet she opened her heart to see others. Through our connection, we both learned about strength, vulnerability, and compassion. A ripple of understanding flowed through the audience, nods echoing back at her. We transformed each other. And I realized that healing isn't about fixing what's broken alone, it's about connecting. With every word, she felt lighter. I promise you, it's okay to feel scared. It's okay to be uncertain. But if you open your heart, you'll find people waiting to lift you up. The crowd began to mirror her emotions, an electric current of shared experiences pulsing through the air. Our scars do not define us, they tell our story. We all struggle, and through that, we cultivate empathy. The homeless girl didn't just teach the billionaire's daughter about social divides, but instead, she found a friend, a confidant, and ultimately, someone who could see the beauty in the sharing of their truths. Tears welled in Emily's eyes as she shared the final part of her story. The journey is never solitary. We are a community, intertwined by our struggles and triumphs. Suddenly, the room erupted into warm applause, a wave of support, a gentle reminder of how connections mattered. She swept her gaze across faces both recognizable and new, feeling blessed to be part of this living, breathing tapestry. Let us turn this energy into action, she said, her voice ringing with conviction. We can build platforms for our voices. Create spaces where we come together to listen, heal, and encourage one another. There's power within our collective stories. When Emily stepped down, she looked to Claire again, who was there waiting with open arms. As they embraced, a deep joy filled her heart. It felt as if a door had swung open, inviting a rush of hope. The gathering unfolded into an upsurge of passion and promise. People approached Emily, sharing their thoughts and stories, revealing just how much her words resonated. Connections formed immediately. Strangers became friends, as shared moments of understanding pulled them closer. Through the evening, they brainstormed ideas for future gatherings, support services, and resources. Each voice mattered, every story had a role to play. Excitement crackled in the air as hopes were expressed and dreams were birthed. As the night closed with laughter and connections being formed, Emily felt transformed. She had stepped from the shadows to claim her voice, and in doing so, she unearthed the purpose behind her journey. With Claire by her side and a community rallying around them, they were no longer simply a homeless girl and a billionaire's daughter. They were trailblazers, ready to embrace the beautiful chaos of change together, and just maybe, they had the power to heal not only each other but a community longing for connection, for recognition, and for hope. Now, as you're feeling the weight of this journey and the impact of their story, it's your turn. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. And don't hesitate to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Join us in this powerful movement.